So that new Devil May Cry anime on Netflix came out. It was pretty good. Did you watch it? I feel like not enough people watched it, which is fine. I watched it, and I thought it was solid. But you know what kind of ruffles my non-existent feathers, what grinds my untouched gears? When people talk about this show and prove they either didn't really watch it or just hate it for nonsensical reasons. Now, it's one thing if people have fair and sensical reasons for hating it, in which case, cool beans. Good, fair, and balanced constructive criticism is extremely important when analyzing anything in media literacy. But not every adaptation is going to be wholeheartedly faithful to what it's adapting, let alone be a one-to-one. But I feel like there can always be leeway given a lot of adaptations pull this loose feet in a way that isn't a complete disservice to the source it's adapting from. So with nothing better to do, I came across a nice little 13-minute video ripping this show a new one, as it is really and truly awful. And I want to know why, cause I sure as shit ain't gonna know why I do my intros like this. I've done a response video before, and that in retrospect I stand by like half of what I said there more or less and made up for it in a follow-up to said video. I want to learn from my mistakes in that video, so I'm gonna go ahead and challenge myself to do a better job than ever before. I feel like I improved a lot with my last response video I ever did, so I want to make a point to do even better this time. Shut up. This is a response video. I don't need a real intro. Let's get into it. Nice to meet you, Mr. Aaron Ward. Tell me why this show actually sucks and offer me a nice new perspective I'm sure I haven't noticed before on Twitter.
When I think Devil May Cry, I naturally think of a post 9/11 allegory for the war on terror. When I think of cool demon fighting, sword fighting action, I think of Bush-era politics.
Well, alright. Good to know. I personally only know so much about Devil May Cry myself, but what I typically think of it is a guy with white hair named Dante fighting demons and whatever, and has a brother with a cool and memorable theme song. That's just me.
I don't know what they were thinking with this. The Devil May Cry show on Netflix is probably one of the worst pieces of media I've seen in a while. It's up there with the Netflix version of Resident Evil. With luck, this show will be forgotten in the dustbin of time. It will probably get a second season. I think with a lot of these animated shows, they try and squeeze a few seasons out of it because everything's computers now, so you're just sort of reusing assets. So I think you'll get more of this piece of crap, but
well, hang on. The evolution of using and integrating modern technology into animation has been around for a very long time, Brohan. This is nothing new. Regardless, it's not a staple of how fast shows and episodes for animated series get squeezed out. Animation is well known for being a very rough and long process, even with the tech provided, so don't try acting like this was pumped out super fast and pasty.
Writing, designing, storyboarding, voice acting, key posing, in-betweening, cleaning up, color slapping, comping the whole thing and all that for, roughly thousands of shots, so it's kind of a lot.
This, like any high-quality animated show or movie, even with just a few episodes, is fair to assume took a lot of time, money, and effort to create and produce. And you're insane if you don't agree that a lot of the visuals are actually really well made.
Actually, you see, one of the main thrusts of this show is that demons are not actually all that bad. A lot of them are actually pretty nice, and they're oppressed. You see, the real bad demons are like the Taliban, but the actual citizenry of hell, which in this show is called Makai. It's called Makai, actually. The demons are actually not that bad. Everything is relative, you see. Do you remember the end of Devil May Cry 5 where Dante and Vergil, they are fighting waves and waves of demons coming through the portals, and it's like super cool and action-packed, and they're tough and badass? Well, actually, a lot of those demons were misunderstood.
I don't know about that one, Chief. This doesn't seem like a true equivalency. It doesn't seem established in this scene that these demons trying to kill Dante and Vergil are necessarily innocent. If they somehow were or had ulterior motives, they were still attacking Dante and Vergil, who defended themselves. I feel like common sense alone tells you that they're probably not the same as demons represented in the show who are innocent. I really doubt if these demon kids were popping out of those portals in that scene, confused and scared shitless, Dante's and Vergil's killing of them would be justified. These two are not at all the same thing.
It's in episode 6, I believe, that it's revealed that the big bad of the show, the White Rabbit, all of his nefarious motivations, they're because the American police state, they opened fire on a group of innocent demon refugees. You see, You see, demons are actually refugees. Absolutely high-octane intellectual writing from Mr. Shankar and company. Truly only the smartest guy could have come up with the angle that the good and evil are actually relative. Everything is morally relative.
Well, it's not only that the demons here in question were innocent refugees who died via a major misunderstanding, they were also tied closely to Rabbit as revealed in episode 6. The same episode that showcased how Rabbit, prior to his transformation and descent into madness, found something he didn't have before with the innocent demons, a family and home. Said two were robbed from him when trying to get them to travel back to Earth for reasons that the show goes over. Either way, I feel like anyone would be particularly bothered if the only group that ever showed them loving kindness were to be lost in such unfortunate events. Said events like these have been on record to create villains and show that they can start off normal and or be born out of tragedy or event of injustice. This is indeed how your average storytelling, character building, and setups work. Motivation is probably one of the most important key things any character can have, and it's extremely important that it can at least be digestible. Given what's laid out in episode 6, Rabbit's transformation and motivation is understandable and good enough for a villain of his caliber. This is how villains are made.
To be clear, that is a kernel of what the Devil May Cry is about. You know, it's right there in the title. Devil May Cry. You know, Sparta, he rebels against hell. He chooses the side of humans, and so Dante becomes a hero. There is certainly a spark of that element, but when you make the whole thing this sort of wishy-washy allegory for the war on terror, we're now operating on levels of Reddit soy lord brain that have yet to be fathomed.
The main character's father being established to back up the theme going for not all hellish creatures are evil, thus the trait from said father being passed down to the son, who is the main character of the franchise, mind you, seems a little more than a spark of the series. Seems like a pretty big deal to me, Chief, especially since you acknowledged in the title itself that also backs this point. Devil May Cry also seems to back this up. So the entire complaint that demons can't be evil is kind of stupid when you actually recognize the title of the series itself. It's not really wishy-washy either, it literally just is what it is. There were many demons who were pure evil, and there were many demons who were not and simply needed a better place to stay, as their home world was literally too toxic for them to even withstand, and Earth was simply a better place. A certain group of people IRL can indeed be compared to this, as many immigrants from other countries prefer to move to the United States, or better land to flee from their former homes due to bad conditions, or better conditions in the places they're going to that are detrimental towards their lives. How exactly is this Reddit or a bad thing to portray in this show? Unless, according to you, basic compassion, empathy, and understanding are too soy. In which case, well, it's hard to really like you overall throughout this, and we're not even 4 minutes into your video. He's got other videos that point to me not liking him as a person, but well.
The other thing this show does is it takes great pains to science everything, to explain everything away with the science. So, you know, this is about hell and demons and portals to the other world, but in this it's explained with all this scientific gobbledygook, and demons are just extra dimensional beings. There's these DNA bullets. It's a special bullet that interacts with the demon DNA, and it hurts. You know, that's what I want to hear in a Devil May Cry show. I want to hear about DNA. I want characters to talk about the DNA and Stephen Hawking type stuff. And feel free to correct me on the official lore. I'm not here to say that I'm an expert on Devil May Cry lore, but as far as I know, I don't remember it being so science-y. You know, I feel like the lore about the demons in Devil May Cry, it's sort of loosey-goosey. It's
what? So the criticism here is that the show has taken independence to elaborate on said loosey-goosey lore. How is that a bad thing exactly? If the source material of something is extremely vague and loosely defined, and an adaptation comes along providing more details and coherent explanations for prior loose lore, that's not a bad thing. If the complaint was that the adaptation was too deviant from the source, then fine. But believe it or not, this is exactly what adaptations do. They adapt the original story based upon, while changing, removing, or adding things that could help enhance it. If Devil May Cry's demon lore is indeed loosey-goosey, as Mr. Ward says, the show going out of the way to properly properly define things is not a bad thing unless you just hate change on its own. Mr. Ward also admits he's not too well versed in the game's lore, so that makes it much easier for me, someone who also isn't too well versed in the game's lore, to respond reasonably because I did watch the show and understand it genuinely.
It's not like I needed the show to come out and say, you know, this show is specifically rooted in Christian mythology, but it seems like it seems like the writers wanted to specifically avoid any such connotation, so they wanted to take great deliberate pains to science everything, so it not be confused as existing in any sort of Christian metaphysics. To drive that point home, there is a character, I believe he's the vice president, and the character design is so subtle and incredible. You have guys who are wearing like red, white, and blue ties, and a guy with a cowboy hat. The political commentary is exceptionally subtle here. But you have this vice president antagonist voiced by the great departed Kevin Conroy, R.I.P. But you have this antagonist who's like this religious zealot, and it's just so dumb. It's so dumb, so heavy-handed. Make your own show, dude, if you want to do this sort of thing. Don't try and bolt this kind of junk onto Devil May Cry of all things.
Well, that's a pretty cool claim that the show is trying to elaborate things with scientific definitions in order to not come off as truly antagonizing religion. It'd be nice if you could provide any legitimacy towards it, but whatever. Also, if that is true, then isn't that a good thing and further proves that the writer is not trying to bash religion as a whole? I guess with what he just said, I gotta break down Vice President William Baines. Oh, fun. The Vice President William Baines is not antagonistic due to his religious beliefs. He is painted as an antagonistic due to his delusions along with his methods. His religious beliefs do play a part into that delusion, but regardless, Vice President Baines' delusion has enabled him to make rash decisions of power, such as the slaughter of innocent demon families that had no intention of harming anyone and simply wanted to live. On top of that, he's revealed to not care for the lives of those working for him and only cares for his ends under the false pretense to protect humanity.
Failing to secure your objectives, that disappointment I could accept. But you have caused me to doubt your devotion, Mary.
I know. My team was killed because I led them into the rabbit's trap. Whatever reprimand you deem.
This isn't about your team. They served the purpose God intended. Our fight is for humanity's souls. Every vessel is expendable.
I didn't have a choice! He was watching my daughters! If I didn't do what he said, he would have...
So, you agreed to help him unleash hell on Earth.
You think hell on Earth would be that different from my life now? I did what I had to do to protect my kids! This world ain't never give a damn about us anyway!
Even I, for much of my life, could not comprehend his true plan. God has never asked us to sit idly by and await his kingdom on Earth, but to build it ourselves. This device, what did the rabbit want you to do with it?
He told me to destroy it. He wanted to keep his tech out of human hands, so we couldn't use it against him.
Then the devil is as clever as his reputation. We are going to use it, Anders, to wage the final war against hell itself.
You really are out your goddamn mind. You think you can win a war with hell?
My faith in the Lord is absolute. I fell from an aircraft with nothing, and still he saved me.
William Baines is a character who is evil and happens to be religious. Instead, religion causes him to act irrationally. There's a difference between a character written in such a way while carrying negative traits of a topic like religion can invoke, versus trying to represent a religion as a whole. William Baines is not a direct representation for religion as a whole, as there are many characters and people who subscribe to religion and are all around good, or not evil. William Baines is not good. As for the claim that this theme can't really fit into Devil May Cry, it absolutely can, as established before within the title of the series alone, challenges the status quo of demons and monsters inherently being evil. Religions also paint demons as evil, and seeing as how Baines is religious himself, his perspective on demons can more than likely be influenced heavily based on said religion. This show challenges this directly by showcasing that not all demons are indeed evil, a point that we will continuously be going over again and again and again.
Beyond the ham-fisted social commentary, the show does what almost every show seems to be doing now, is the cool guy main protagonist. He is now sharing at least half the screen time with lady. I swear to God, they're using like a stopwatch to make sure that they get like equal screen time. There's an entire episode where Dante isn't present at all.
Yes, this is called exposition, the thing you clearly don't like, as you somehow have a problem with the series providing more explanation on lOoSeY lore. Lady is a very important character in this show, and it's important to establish her background and motivations. You could argue Dante needs this treatment as well, as we only have a few flashbacks for him, which is an understandable complaint. However, it's not what Aaron Ward's issue is. His issue is the fact that there is more than one main character or character of high importance. At least that's what it sounds like.
She's like a cool, tough soldier person. She wears like tactical soldier armor, and she's swearing all the time. Lady is actually sort of the fulcrum around which all the War on Terror allegory revolves. She starts out hating demons because her dad injected himself with demon blood and killed her mother, and that she hates demons so much. But then over the course of like 1 or 2 episodes, she just changes her mind just like that. She suddenly realizes that not all demons are bad. Not all demons are bad.
Well, Lady is indeed a tough badass who is really fucking hard to kill. She manages to cleverly pull through near-death situations, as well as clearly a very skilled and capable individual who has earned her spot as leader of the demon hunters, as she's proven she is the most skilled and dedicated of the group. Her motivation for hating demons is one that is sound, similar to how we went over Rabbit's motivation adding up that you showcased you may have not fully understood. Lady's father became absolutely obsessed with demons and gaining power after a tragic incident that happened to the family that nearly cost them their lives, as he witnessed his wife jump in to protect their daughter with no hesitation. And when mocked for trying to report it, it further fueled his motivation to said obsession. This caused Lady's father to become so unhinged over time that when he did get the power he wanted so desperately, it would backfire instantly, leading him to kill his own wife and nearly his own child. Lady, as this child, would never forget this traumatizing experience, as it motivates her to put down all demons growing up. This is basic cause and effect storytelling. It also sounds kind of familiar.
He was obsessed with becoming the devil.
I spoke to the college. They said you haven't been to work in weeks.
This is my work.
Your daughter never sees you anymore. I never see you.
It's you that I'm doing this for. There are monsters breaching our world.
So much he killed his own wife. For that he butchered innocent people too. He's the most vile kind of creature. To top it off, that filthy scum is my father.
Lady backs down from this stance and hating all demons once exposed to the fact that not all demons are evil and are indeed refugees trying to escape their home world that was too toxic for their own kind. These demons have families and each other to look after and don't want to, nor need to harm innocents in order to do so. Not only does she step back from this, but she also goes out of her way to protect these innocent demons. This alone is very valid reason to not want to keep killing all demons. If you think this is not, it says a lot about you as a person, and if you are truly down to kill creatures who are proving to not want to cause any harm, especially creatures who are newborn.
Dante feels sidelined for much of the series. You know how you make a good Devil May Cry show? It's really easy. You focus on the core of the story. You focus on Dante, on Vergil, on their family background. It's at the core of Devil May Cry is a nice sort of familial soap opera.
Well, given that Vergil is confirmed to be pulling up for a season 2, I can only take this point so seriously and wonder how it's gonna age.
The fact that Dante doesn't even know that he's a half demon, again, feel free to correct me on the lore, but it seems like a stupid plot point that he just wouldn't know that he was a half demon, or he would. It was just silly. The show is a sort of hodgepodge of all these different elements from Devil May Cry, like so it's sort of a.
Oh wait, what? You're done? Oh, okay. Well, what a well-articulated point of dissatisfactory, I guess. Yeah, it was just kind of silly that Dante didn't know he was half demon. It was just a dumb plot point. But since you invited to be corrected on this lore, at least in the show, Dante rejects being half demon as he kills many demons and isn't fully aware of all his capabilities. He doesn't like demons either and views them as threats, and like many is also unaware of the demon refugees who are not like the threats he tackles.
Seriously, part demon? If you knew how many of those things I've killed, you'd know how crazy you sound.
Demons kill their own all the time. Death and destruction is the core of your nature.
Trust me, I know all about demons' nature. I'm not one of them.
How else can you explain what you're capable of? You even fight like they do. Unholy strength but no intelligence, no strategy.
I don't know, seems like I managed to catch you.
It's when Dante transforms that he accepts the fact that he is indeed part demon whether he likes it or not, and he accepts and admits to it in the end. I don't really understand how this plot point is silly or stupid given that it's not even really grand to the plot overall, and is more just a showcase of ignorance or lack of awareness that Dante's got. Mr. Ward unfortunately didn't elaborate on why this could be such a negative, so this response video really just comes off as a breakdown on the show rather than anything else. I can't help but wonder if he actually watched it or just saw clips online of it and jumped to conclusions for his void and hollow reasons of why he hates the show.
And Dante, he eats the sundae because he ate the sundae in the meme. And you know, I think the memes are funny too, but it would be nice to have a show that wasn't just a hodgepodge of different Devil May Cry elements. And it's interesting the things that they put in and the things that they left out, so they can put all these other elements, but for some reason they can't have the original voice actors. They have Nero's voice actor doing Dante, and he does a fine performance, but I think we all know why they didn't want, what's his name, Ruben Langdon? What does a guy believe in, like, ancient aliens or something? The guy seems, he seems to be into some nutty ancient alien stuff or something. Even if the guy did say some shit that, you know, Hollywood doesn't like, he's still like the guy. He's still the voice of Dante. You hire Dante to play Dante. You hire Vergil to play Vergil. I find it interesting how the Bury the Light cover also doesn't have the original vocalist, who is so integral to the song. And isn't that guy like a Christian or something? It seems like there's some very sort of cancel culture-y type things going on with the production of this show.
Dude, do you want Devil May Cry shit in the Devil May Cry show or not? How was your first example of things they didn't include in this adaptation the voices of the series? That's not a good enough complaint of what is cut out of the source material, dog. Mortal Kombat 11 replaced the long-time established voice actors for their main characters, but that's not the reason the story was bad. That's a horrible point and irrelevant to what makes a plot good or bad. And swapping out established voice actors for series isn't an uncommon practice, either for public or private reasons. If established actors for something have been in controversy, it makes sense that a series would want to stray away from it, even if that means replacing said actor. This isn't cancel culture, it's literally just business, Chief Han. This entire point is so irrelevant to the show itself. I can't even remember how far along I'm into this response, but I feel like I've heard so much from Mr. Ward and nothing at the exact same time.
I wasn't too familiar with the Shankar gentleman beforehand, but then like looking him up afterwards, it's just like, why are you putting people like this in charge? Dear Japan, sumimasen, onegashimasu, please Japan, stop putting just random people in charge of your very successful and popular properties. Stop throwing a Resident Evil show to random goofballs. Stop throwing a Devil May Cry show to some random goofball.
That doesn't come off as prejudgmental at all.
Beyond all that, the animation just sort of looks cheap and rushed, which is sort of par the course for these Mick anime style productions. Everything is very stiff, very computerized. You know, Agni and Rudra are 3D computer renders. I think all the demon villains are 3D renders, and then Dante, when he transforms, he is also a 3D model, which again is just sort of par the course. And it wouldn't be so bad if the story actually had something to show for it.
I don't really feel like getting smacked with copyright for showing a bunch of scenes from the show that are too well animated, and I also don't feel like repeating my second point in this very video about how animation is actually a rough process no matter how you cut it. I'll just say watch the show and enjoy the fight scenes and action sequences for yourself.
Going back to the sort of ham-fisted political allegories for a moment, the show sort of sold itself on nostalgia. Like the soundtrack is very sort of early 2000s. The show is supposed to sort of make you nostalgic for the age when the games first came out, when Devil May Cry originally hit the shelves. But then it's like they couldn't let you have that. The showrunners couldn't let you have fun. So along with your sort of early 2000s nostalgia, they sort of tacked on these early 2000s political allegories where it's almost like they're trying to say, what, you were happy then? Things were less stupid and you remember a time where you were happy and full of joy and you could just play a fun video game? Ha, joke's on you, George Bush, am I right? At the end of the day, it's all just so joyless, you know. You know, when I think Devil May Cry, I think fun. I think fun, action, and excitement. I definitely don't think of some smirking Redditor giving me a play-by-play of the war on terror. This was not fun. It was stupid.
Well, I don't know about you, but I and many others who enjoyed the show had fun watching it. I'm sure the writer had a bit of fun expressing jokes and wacky stuff in it. Johnny Young, the voice of Dante, seemed to have genuine fun voicing the character. Seems like the only people who didn't have fun are the types of folk who can't really enjoy anything new or scrap for reasons to hate it with bad reasoning, such as what was laid out in this video. Mind you, Mr. Ward here again admits he's not well versed in the lore of Devil May Cry, so it's not like the criticism comes from a place of disappointment of how the adaptation may not stick entirely true to what it's based upon. And even if that were the case, I have a strong suspicion that if this show was compiled completely of original characters not tied to the DMC franchise, an overwhelming amount of people would still complain. I have, shamefully, had talks with folk who urge out the most insane mental gymnastics and logic leaps to justify an overhate on this show. Chief among them, what I talked about before, is that somehow fictional creatures such as demons are not allowed to be portrayed as good because we never had a series tackling that subject before. People were mad because of the fact that fictional creatures, demons, do not all adhere to their definition in a fictional universe. I have not seen a sadder way to approach a show ever. With that logic, nothing new is allowed to happen, no status quo is allowed to be challenged, no development or change is ever allowed to occur in any given story. This is insulting, pathetic, and antithetical to storytelling as a whole. People are unironically trying to police what can and cannot happen in fiction. And hell, they've been doing it for a long time. Remember the whole, oh, disabled people can't exist in a fantasy setting, trans people can't exist in a fantasy setting. No way, but you can sure have fire-breathing and half-man, half-monster folk all Gucci there. It's gotta absolutely fucking suck to look at every new thing like this that isn't adhering to what you want it to. At that rate, you don't even need a reason to hate something. It sucks because it's different. There you go. That's all the reasoning you really need when you look at media like this. And it sucks because I know there are more legitimate complaints out there on this show, and I know there are better reasons for some people to be upset with it, but it's crazy how the ratio between actual good and fair logic and reasoning is involved versus hate for the sake of hate. I can't even try to wrap my head around such a horrid way of looking at media, because there are people who are dead-ass dedicated to hating this show and doing so much in spite of it, to the point where they are indeed down to bash people for harmlessly enjoying it, and they'll die on their heels no matter how odd they'll be. Mind you, in the 12 minutes of this video I'm responding to, not a single good point or coherent point is made whatsoever besides non-existent points that I feel like I'd hear from a child. Aaron Ward's video involves him saying so much in nothing at all at the same time. They made the lore more science-y when it should have been lOoSeY, a character that had importance shared screen times with one of the main characters, therefore it sucks. Oh, Dante denies his demonic DNA, and that's a dumb plot point. Why it's a dumb plot point? Just because I said it was. They were right. Media literacy discourse is dying and dying hard. The fact that I, someone who is not super vested in the series, can so easily counter such irrational arguments from a video like this via simply watching the show and getting a basic understanding of it is kind of embarrassing, given how so many people feel a need to nod along in agreement with literally a nothing burger of a video. Again, everything he says in this video is so easy to refute that it's actually insane, because literally all you have to do is watch the show. But the funny thing is that I guarantee you half the people who bashed this show didn't even actually watch it and already came at it from a point of hate, or literally just got force-fed their opinions online by people who kind of watched the show or put out clips that they weren't happy with. And this isn't the only time people do this. People will select an inherent bias whenever approaching something that they already go into it hating it, or they'll go into it loving and defending it because of certain aspects that they already agree with or disagree with alone. I would not at all be surprised if I were met with some kind of unreasonable backlash on this video going against how people look at this show, in which I guess it is what it is, but I gotta say to people like Mr. Ward and those who hate this show unreasonably, did y'all watch this shit? Like, no, I'm not asking sarcastically or in a demeaning way. I am 100% serious when I ask. Did you actually watch this show? Did you take it in? Did you understand it truly? It's not like it's super hard to follow. It's only 8 episodes, and there's an entire episode dedicated to exposition on 2 major character motives. So I truly wonder how much halfway decent faith is apparent when people criticize this show. And again, I'm not saying there's no good criticism for this show that exists. I know for a fact it does, but there are too many people like this who hate the show to genuine unreasonable levels and unreasonable standards. His video ends at the latest mark I've responded to. Do not harass the individual in any way, shape, or form. If you're someone from my audience and I find out you've been doing that dumb shit, you're getting fucking permabanned. I never know how to end these videos, so you know the deal. Like, dislike, comment, argue with me, share, do whatever. Dunzo.